I'm Lloyd Holiday, and this is the Cost of a Thing podcast. Thanks for listening in today. So what happened to that great standard of living that we used to enjoy here in America in the 1960s and even into the 1970s? Well, that's what the Cost of a Thing podcast is all about, and that's what I'm going to be talking about here. Okay, today I want to talk about hyperinflation. And specifically, I want to talk about why I think that's never going to happen in the United States. So what is hyperinflation? Well, I'm going to define it. Hyperinflation is when prices of things go up so high that your dollars are now worthless. And the hyperinflation theorists bring up usually Weimar Germany, which was, I think, Germany back in the 1930s, where their currency went to such little value that they had to take a wheelbarrow full of currency to the store to buy something like a loaf of bread or a box of cookies or something. They always cite that, Weimar Germany. Or you hear about Zimbabwe, where they were printing $1 trillion bills. And that would buy something maybe like a loaf of bread for $1 trillion or trillion units of whatever their currency was. And this is what the hyperinflation theorists tell us that's going to happen in the United States if the government keeps printing money like they're doing. And I'm not saying printing money is good. It's not good. I wish they wouldn't do that. But they are doing it. I just don't think it's going to result in hyperinflation. And I'm going to get into why I think that in this podcast. But before I get into that, I want to talk a little about who is pushing the idea that there's going to be this hyperinflation in the United States. There's plenty of people online doing that, and the ones I see doing it the most are people who are pushing the gold and silver markets. They're either selling gold and silver, or they're a gold and silver brokerage house, or maybe they own a lot of gold and silver and they want to get people to buy more gold and silver and drive the price up so they can make money. Or they're just paid salesmen for the gold and silver industry. And what these people do, and they're all over YouTube and all over the internet, the gold bugs or the gold pushers or whatever you want to call them, and they contend that this government money printing by the Federal Reserve and the super borrowing by the government is going to drive inflation so high that your dollars will be worth absolutely nothing at some point. And you better have some gold, they say, to offset that, because then gold will go to a super high value and you'll still be able to buy things. You won't lose all your wealth. So that's what they're pushing. That's the idea behind it. And if you look at the price of gold today at about $1,800 or $1,900, somewhere in there, I don't know the exact amount right at this moment, but it's in that range. You know, they're hyping of gold in this way and talking about there's going to be hyperinflation and all that. It's worked. It's pushed the price of gold way up in the last 18 years or so. Since 2003 or so, gold has gone from about $300 an ounce now up to this $1,800 level. So that's about 6 times what it cost just 18 years ago. So they have basically, I think, through fear, I think mainly, gotten a lot of people to buy the gold at these higher prices and driven the price up. And they like that because if they have a lot of gold, they're going to get a lot of price appreciation there due to the inflation. And there's even people out there that talk as if gold will go to $10,000 an ounce or even $50,000 an ounce, I've heard. So in this way, they're trying to motivate you to buy gold and silver through the fear that you might lose all your wealth when your dollars go to zero, and the greed that you don't want to miss out on this gold going to $10,000 or $50,000. So there's fear and greed they're using to sell things. So here's why I think there's not going to be hyperinflation in the United States. The dollar is not going to become worthless. And here's why. Because the system and those that own the system, the elites, the bankers, the Federal Reserve, the big people in government, they don't want that to happen. The whole game, the whole system has been set up by the elites who take advantage of that system and who benefit greatly from the system that they've set up. Their whole game is to keep as many people working as much and as long as they can so that they can skim the cream off of the top of that work for themselves, off that labor. And that is the main reason why I think they'll never allow hyperinflation, because it would make the value of the dollar nothing or very close to nothing, and nobody's going to work for those worthless dollars, and the whole system collapses and they can't skim the cream. So the Federal Reserve, the bankers, the Congress people, the corporations, Wall Street, all of those big money players will do everything that they have to do to make sure hyperinflation never happens. They want a little inflation every year to keep their asset prices going up so they can collect that money. But they don't want hyperinflation, because then the whole game collapses and they don't get any money. They can't skim the money off the workers anymore, because the workers won't work for no money, or for money that's worthless. No worky, no skimmy, you might say. Because if that happens, and say you go to work and you say you get a $5,000 paycheck at the end of the month, and you can't even buy a loaf of bread for that $5,000, guess what? You're not going to work. You're going to stay home and try to grow some vegetables in your backyard, and that'll be worth more to you, your time doing that, than going to work. So it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen that they make the money so worthless that you going to work is the whole month is going to buy one loaf of bread or something like that. Never going to happen. That's how they get their money. They don't want. Where do they get that? From taxing the working person. That's how they do it. And the people who own businesses, they want people to keep working, right? Because they can't do all the jobs in their business. I mean, say the guy that owns Taco Bell. You think he can man the window and make the tacos and all that? No, he's got to hire people. So he's got to make it worth their while to come in. And they're not going to come in if they only get a loaf of bread per month. So they can't allow the money to become worthless. So I'm going to wrap this up. I don't see that they're ever going to let hyperinflation happen here in the United States. And they're never going to let the dollar go down too fast. It is on a slow decline due to their slow 2 or 3 or 5% inflation that they're trying to promote. But it's not going to happen quickly. That's just my opinion. Just kind of a common sense look at it. Because like I said, if the dollar goes to zero or close to zero or even anywhere near zero, nobody's going to work. And that's their whole game, to keep people working. No worky, no skimmy. The government skims off workers. Corporation owners skim off the workers. All real wealth is created by the workers in the end. Thank you for listening in today. And until next time, this is Lloyd Holiday signing off.